candidates are both running for Rhode Island District 35. May I please first student may come up. Juliana.
I'm Juliana Brennan, and it is my honor to introduce Ms. Doreen Costa, who's running for Senate. Ms. Doreen Costa was the first Republican woman to serve in leadership in a Democratic-controlled House. She's also introduced a bill increasing penalties for sex trafficking while working as a state representative. It's my pleasure to introduce our next senator from District 35, Ms. Doreen Costa.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so very much for having myself and the senator here. This means a lot to us because we get to come out and meet you and listen to your questions and answer them and your concerns. So I was in the House of Representatives from 2010 to 2016. As Julia said, I was the first Republican woman elected into a Democratic leadership under Nick Mattiello. I was vice chair of House Judiciary. And that happened because I had legislation passed that both sides need to vote on. You need Republican support and you need Democrat support. And I'm very proud of that. Nobody could ever take that away from me. A few years ago, I lost my brother to opioids. So if you don't think that's a problem that could affect your family, you're wrong. I have no other siblings. He was my younger brother. So I need to make sure that this is going to be a priority because I cannot see any of your parents burying a child and see what my mother went through. So opioid crisis, it is a big concern. My brother Anthony lost a few fingers in work and the doctor put him on oxy and vitamin. Sure. So needless to say, he took a few too many and he's now autistic. So that is going to be one of my main concerns. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Jacob Hall, and it's my honor to introduce Senator Bridget Valverde, who is running for State Senate in District 35. Senator Valverde has made great strides to halt climate change in Rhode Island and has fought hard to protect families in Rhode Island. It is my great pleasure to introduce our next state senator, Senator Bridget Valverde.
Thank you for that introduction, Jacob. Yes, I'm Bridget Valverde. I have represented District 35 in the Senate for the past 4 years, and that includes about half of North Kingstown. It is so great to be here today to hear from all of you. I know you all are here to hear from us, but I know a lot of you are eligible to vote in this election, but we really need to hear from you on the issues that matter to you, the things that you worry about. When we are, every day in the General Assembly, we make decisions that affect your lives. So when we are talking about access to mental health care, we want to hear from you. When we are talking about addressing gun violence, we want to hear from you. We're talking about protecting access to health care, including reproductive health care, addressing climate change, all of these things that affect you every day, we need to hear from you. So I'm so happy to be here today, so thank you for coming.
Thank you, Ms. Costa and Senator Valverde. Anyone that has a question at this time may come up to the microphone in front of the stage.
Hello. What are both of you guys' stances on abortion rights?
Thank you very much for that question. So one of the things that I first ran on in 2018 when I first won election was protecting the right to abortion in Rhode Island. In my first year in office, after years of advocacy, we finally passed the Reproductive Privacy Act, which protected abortion rights here in Rhode Island, which, as we know, is more important than ever now that the Supreme Court has overturned Roe v. Wade. I would like to see access to abortion expanded here in Rhode Island. Right now in our state law, we have bans on the books. So people who use Medicaid and state employees and their families, their insurance is barred from covering abortion services. So I've introduced the Equality of Abortion Coverage Act for the past 3 years to change that. Governor McKee has committed to putting it in his budget and funding it this year, so I'm very happy about that.
Yes, it's a very important question. I would do nothing to overturn what the governor has already done. 100%. People, all Republicans are going to overturn it. I promise you, there is nothing I am going to do to change that. If you are on Medicare, Medicaid, or you are a state employee, you actually do have access to abortion if it is emergency, if it's rape, incest, life of the mother, life of the child. It's just not elective right now in the state. So I promise you there is nothing I would do to change that.
What support and programs are you going to input to support victims of sexual assault?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
What programs and support are you going to input to support victims of sexual assault?
Oh, that's a great question. My sex trafficking bill that passed in the House and the Senate, most children that are sex trafficked, they are sexually assaulted by their kidnapper. I met with a family that the daughter was taken from a bar in Providence at 24 years old. The man beat her up. Remember, we got her so much help. She's still in therapy. The man beat her up, put her in the car, drugged her, drove her through Connecticut, Mass, ended up in Howard County, Maryland. He was at a 7-Eleven. He was filling up his gas. She ran out of the car, went into the 7-Eleven, locked the door. They arrested him 3 blocks away. If you want to read this story, all you have to remember is this. The guy's name is Eugene Gary Maddox. And he was one of the, Google his name, you can see what he's done, and he has abused women throughout the state, and not just this girl that was trafficked. So this is another priority. I'm so happy I got the legislation passed. And there's plenty of programs out there, and if anybody needs help in that area, please reach out to me.
Thank you for that great question. The past couple of years in the Senate, I have co-sponsored a sexual assault survivors Bill of Rights legislation that will give victims of sexual assault more rights when it comes to sharing their stories and getting the justice that they deserve. So that's one thing. But the other thing is that we need to believe people. You know, I mean, women in particular, have a hard time coming forward with their stories. So the more that we can support them as a society, the better.
How do you plan on lowering the rate of suicide in teens? How do you guys plan on lowering the rate of suicide in teens?
Thank you for that question. So access to mental health resources is a big part of that. It is something that we are working on in the General Assembly to have increased investment in mental health resources, both in our schools and in our community. And right now we do have a shortage of mental health providers so that teens can get the help they need. One other thing that I would like to see in Rhode Island are stronger safe storage laws for firearms. More than 70% of the firearm deaths in Rhode Island, firearm deaths are suicide, and so we can help a little bit with that by passing stronger safe storage laws to make sure that people are securely storing their guns.
Well, I work in the mental health field right now, and I've been there for the past few years. We do not have enough providers to help everybody that calls. We have people that are leaving Butler, and the doctors call us, and they need to see a mental health doctor or a psychiatrist within 2 weeks. We're booking 6 to 8 weeks out. That is not helping everybody. So I would like to do and incentivize some kind of legislation to have some nurse practitioners that are trained in mental health come on into the state. We'll give you some tax credits. We'll help you with your tuition. But we need to solve this problem. And without the staff, we have a big issue. So that's a great question. I see it every day. Thank you.
What do you think about illegal immigration from Latin America, and how are you planning on dealing with it?
Ms. Costa.
Can you come back and repeat the question, please? We didn't hear you. We didn't hear your question. Thank you.
What do you two think about like illegal immigration coming down from Latin America?
Well, illegal immigration is a big problem in the country, period, and no matter where you're coming from. You see what's happening now at the border, it's pretty scary. My big issue is the drugs coming over, the fentanyl coming over, because I know what it can do to a human. I've seen it, I've lived it, don't forget, I work in the field. We're all human, we all need to help each other out, whether you're here illegally or not. But right now, we have a big homeless situation here in the state, and it needs to be addressed. I think if you're illegal, you're still a human being, and you still need to help you out.
So immigration is largely a federal issue, so there's not much lawmaking we can do here in the Rhode Island General Assembly to address it. But it's a terrible situation. We have people who are coming from countries where they're escaping violence, they're escaping poverty, and so if they do make it into our country, we should support them. So as Rhode Islanders, I know that we have supported, we've supported immigrants from all over the world. Through various organizations, through the generosity of like you from North Kingstown. So we have to keep on doing that. And talk to your federal legislators. Talk to Senator Whitehouse and Congressman Cicilline and whoever is replacing Congressman Benjamin this November. And tell them your thoughts on it. Because they're the ones that can really affect immigration policy at the federal level.
What is your opinion of the scandal that has recently come to light in North Kingstown School Department, and what do you plan on doing to prevent child predators from coming into our schools?
Thank you for that question, and I know it's something that's on probably all of your minds every day. The things that happen in North Kingstown schools are inexcusable. I know that our school committee has taken some steps we've gotten rid of some of our administrators who maybe looked the other way when they were told about what was happening. So Judge McGurl has come out with a report with some recommendations of how both the town and can work with state legislators to pass some additional protections. A couple of things that I would like to see are additional background checks for athletic coaches before they are hired. I did support and pass a bill this year that would increase information sharing between schools. So as we know, when Mr. Thomas left North Kingstown High School, he did go to another school district, and that was allowed to happen because the schools were not talking to each other. So all of these things, help in the future.
Just want to reiterate something that Bridget said. She is right. We need the double background checks. You should not be a child predator in North Carolina and be able to go work at Bishop Hendrick. You should be in jail, number one. Number two, and this isn't going to go well with some of the teachers here. There are people in this building that still know what happened, and they're not saying nothing to keep their jobs. Number one. Every single person from top to bottom should be held 100% accountable. They should be arrested as a child predator, and they should be serving time for what they did to this community. Thank you.
So what do you
your standings on same-sex marriage and, I guess, LGBT plus in general?
All right, so here's my thing on same-sex marriage. I voted against it many, many years ago, which is one vote I wish I could always take back. I just got remarried 6 months ago. The Speaker of the House married my husband and I, and he's a gay man who came with his husband. I don't care. That's your life. You do what you want. If you're happy, you're happy. Love whoever you want.
Was there a second part to the question, or was it just about my support for gay marriage?
It was that, and as well as just mostly the LGBT community altogether.
Sure. So absolutely in support of marriage equality. Everyone should be able to, marry and be with who they love. And had I been in the General Assembly at the time, I would have voted for it. And we need to make sure that we are protecting our LGBTQ plus community. And any attempts to roll back rights, to discriminate against them, especially in our schools. I know that this is something that's come up in some schools, and so I would absolutely advocate for any reforms.
Good morning. I know that people who drive around here have seen a pretty heavy increase in the police presence across the town, so I was wondering what both of your stances are on the police and on a high police presence across the state.
So I don't know that I can't really speak to the level of police presence in North Kingstown or across the state. But if there, if there have any problems with police presence, I would like to hear about it. I do support our police. I think that they provide important public safety to our community. But police level, I don't know if we're at the right level or not. My particular area of expertise.
Well, I really haven't noticed too much of a police increase, but I work in Warwick, so I go to work during the day, and then I come home around 3, 4 o'clock. So I'm in the office most of the day. But if there's a large police presence around, usually that means something's going on. They just don't hang out and have a large presence for nothing. I just got the endorsement from the Rhode Island Brotherhood of Corrections Officers, and I've had a meeting with the NKPD. I am big supporters of our police department. I'm big supporters of first responders and our firefighters. So I have no idea why there's a police presence, but if you want, you can take my number and I can call the chief and I can get the answers for you if you would like.
So my question was kind of briefly covered in others, but what are your opinions and how do you think, what do you think about defending young women or underage women who have been sexually assaulted? And how do you plan on going forward defending them in the future?
Oh, well, I've already done that. I've already done it with several women. The problem is they don't want to speak because they're ashamed and they think it's themselves. So what we have to do is we have to sit down with them and we have to say, look, this isn't your fault. It's definitely not your fault. And this is how we got the convicted sex trafficker arrested, because I sat down with the victim and I said, if you don't come forward, he's going to do this again. And she came forward and I went to trial with her. I drove her to Maryland and I sat through that trial. And that is one brave woman. And if anybody ever needs any help in anything, there's so much that we can do for you. There's so many programs. Just reach out to me. I'm always willing to help anybody.
So as I mentioned earlier, I would like us to see the sexual assault survivors' Bill of Rights passed. Beyond that, I'm open to talking to anybody who has suggestions about what we should be doing for young victims of sexual assault, in particular women that you asked about. We do have a culture of sometimes ignoring the complaints, the unwanted advances that a lot of young women have to endure. I know as a woman elected official, I've endured some of that. And so we need to talk about it. We need to name it. And we need
a question specific to Ms. Valverde. You advocate a lot for environmental preservation, and I was just wondering if tourism in Rhode Island was identified as a harmful factor, do you think we should regulate it to preserve our beaches?
Tourism is a harmful factor for environment. So I mean, if there was evidence that I guess what would be that our beaches were being used too much, then yes, sure, we should absolutely study that. I think that tourism is something that really supports our state in a lot of ways. Every summer we have a ton of people come in because Rhode Island is awesome, and people want to come here. So yes, if there was evidence of that, I would absolutely look into that.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm a teacher here, so. I have a question regarding my job and the Access to Public Records Act, the APRAs. I know communities like South Kingstown and North Kingstown have come under fire with APRAs. It seems like people just want to cause a lot of chaos, and I know that there's local law and federal law regarding the access to public records, but it just seems like the point of the law is there's a good reason for it, but it's now become overbearing. What are your thoughts on that? Ms. Costa.
Thank you. Thank you for teaching. It's not an easy job. I appreciate you. Access to public records is a necessity. We have the right to ask for the records, especially parents right now with everything that's going on in school with the school committee. They also cost money. It's not something that you can say, I just want to app a request. There's a lot of paperwork involved. The parents have to pay. I think it should be easier to get them for parents, especially with what's been going on in the North Kingstown schools and throughout schools throughout the country. Would it be regulated? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we would want to regulate it because that's something that we have access to. And I think parents should be able to get it. And I also don't think they should have to pay for it as well, especially when they're trying to figure out what's going on in school with their children, or even a budget item at the town hall, or something they don't like in the governor's office. They can request the request. They can request it, and they also have to pay for it. And I don't think that we should.
So I agree that public access to records is important. We should have a transparent government. That being said, you're right. Some people have weaponized that right recently, and it has caused an undue burden on our local governments, on our state governments, to be providing information that a lot of people honestly really don't need, but they're doing it just because they can. So I don't know that we can, and they don't always have all of their wishes granted when it comes to their requests. There also seems to be some misinformation out there amongst people that they don't have access to certain curriculum documents. I know that that's been something that parents have been requesting, but all you have to do is ask. I know that my kids go to the North Kingstown school. Whenever I have a question about what they're doing in school, what they're being taught, their teachers are an open book. They're happy to talk to me about it. So I don't think you need to go through a formal, APRA request process in order to get that information. If you are acting in good faith,
Absolutely.
if you're acting in good faith and you are actually just seeking information that you really need.
We have time for 1 to 2 more questions.
Usually I don't get to ask a question. I'll take this opportunity. First of all, thank you both for being here. I'd like to point out to the students that both Representative Rhode as well as Ms. Costa have been to many of our candidates' days and our dialogues and democracy nights in the past. So thank you for that support. It's very easy to say you support education. It's quite another thing to show up time after time after time to meet with the students. So I thank both of you for that. question. Obviously, I know you share this concern with young people wanting to, we want them to vote more, we want them to take more of a part in the system. However, sometimes we look at political candidacies, notwithstanding yours certainly seems to be one that is a healthy back and forth, where we see differences, and that's the way it should be on issues. But we look to some races, like perhaps the governor's race, where people are called incompetent by one candidate, or referencing a carpetbagger by another candidate, and it just seems like the issues are never really discussed. My question to you is, as a representative, what influences do you have, or efforts do you make, to affect that positive change with not only your own colleagues in the House or in the General Assembly, the Senate, but also at the governor's level and lieutenant governor's level and so forth?
I really think it comes down to leading by example. So this is my third time running for office. I won in 2018, I won in 2020, now I'm running for re-election for a third time. And every single race that I've run has been, clean and respectful. I don't do, name calling or mudslinging, because that's not what people want to. They want to see and hear. I don't think politics doesn't have to be a blood sport, which is what it's become. You're right at the state level and certainly at the federal level. So I think just continuing to run campaigns that are issue-based, to talk about the things that actually affect people's lives every day, not name calling.
This is probably the most positive campaign I've ever seen between two people. Thank you. Neither one of us has went negative. There will be no negative mailers going out on my behalf against Bridget. I don't believe in that. We have issues to work on. We both have families. She has 2 beautiful children. I have 2 beautiful kids. There's no need for mudslinging. I think that this race should be an example for everybody else. I honestly do. And one more thing, Larry, I know how difficult this is every year with the schedule and getting everything together. We appreciate what you do, and thank you for having us.
Thank you for both your time. We'll now move on to closing remarks. Ms. Costa, may you go first.
Well, again, thank you, everybody. I love coming to do this every year. This is probably my 5th or 6th, maybe even 7th time doing this, because I've won 9 elections, lost 1, if you count all the delegates that I won. I just love what I do. I love listening to the community. I love my job. I love helping people. I know that sounds cliche. When I first got elected in 2010, within 20 minutes I got a phone call. I wasn't even sworn in yet. I had a mom who had to put her mother, into a nursing home and she didn't know where to start. Within 8 days, I had all the information that the person needed to put the grandmother into the nursing home. And I still keep in touch with these people. She's 97 years old, God bless her. So I don't know what's going to happen in 2 weeks, but if you are happy with one of us, reach out to us, call us, ask us questions. That's what we're here for. Win or lose, with both of us, we're still going to help the community. We're still going to be involved, and I cannot thank you all enough for being here today.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Mr. Merida, for once again putting on an excellent forum. We don't have very many chances to talk to big groups of people around election time. Unfortunately, we don't have very many debates or forums, so this is wonderful. I have loved being in public service. It really is one of the most fulfilling things I've done in my life. So I hope that by hearing from us, some of you are inspired to also go into public service, whether that means running for office or working in government in some other form. It really is one of the best jobs out there. So we are going to be back in legislative session in the 2023 session in January. And one of my favorite things to do is to have people come up to the State House, show them around. Mrs. Garcia has come up last year. And so I would invite any of you who would like to come up to get a tour of the State House, to sit in on Senate session,